Hey, Matt.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Very good.
So, hey, I thought we might conduct this week's podcast and talk a little bit about some recent domain news items that have caught our fancy.
Sure, let's get into it. What's on the top of your list?
So, I think first and foremost, we got to talk about .cat.
Yeah. So, I guess by way of background, for those of you that aren't familiar, .cat was a GTLD that was launched in the last round of new GTLDs back in 2003, I want to say. And it's specific to the Catalan culture and people of that region. And so there is a referendum underway that goes to the Catalan independence. And so there were some legal maneuvers that took place, and the government essentially deemed a portion of the .cat domains to be in violation of local law. And so they issued the takedown of the domains, and more concerning, they ultimately arrested the head of IT for the .cat registry.
Yeah, I mean, I think, action by law enforcement to seize domains or to transfer domains via court order, that kind of activity has gone on, and it's not unusual. I think in this particular case, what is raising so many eyebrows is that it was content that was political in nature. And I think especially here in the US, we value our First Amendment rights so much, and it's quite, I think, to me at least, shocking that, content that, is political in nature, and, I would probably not consider it to be illegal, based on what the rule of law here is in the US, that would be deemed illegal, and that there would be, a seizure of those names, and that somebody would be arrested for it. I think it's quite shocking here.
It is, certainly, but at the end of the day, and this conversation has come up in many areas in the past, at the end of the day, the rule of law at your country or state or local level really is paramount, and they have the ability to enforce their laws. I can really only, in the 15 years I've been in this industry, I can think of one other incident. There was an incident many, many years ago in a country where the federal police actually came in to the operator's office and at gunpoint forced them to delete a specific domain name. And at the time, it was jarring. And I think, you have that same sort of visceral reaction to it today in the .cat example. I certainly, while this does not fall necessarily within ICANN's purview, I can only imagine that this will be a big topic of conversation in Abu Dhabi at the ICANN meeting next month, certainly.
I agree. Let us move on to our second hot news item. And this is something that happened a couple of weeks ago now, but still very much on the top of mind for me. And that is the appointment of Avri Doria and Sarah Deutsch to the ICANN board.
Yeah, no, the nominations of Avri and Sarah came through the NomCom process, which is the process by which the community essentially nominates folks to various positions with ICANN. It was great to see, two folks that have been engaged in ICANN for so long nominated and put on the board. And to your point, to Sarah specifically, a long-time advocate of brand holder rights, both in the ICANN venue and many other venues, Inta and others, through her work at Verizon years ago and all the way up through her work continues today. So it's great to have someone with that brand holder perspective, that business mind, come onto the board to try to bring that perspective to the conversations and the deliberations that the board undertakes.
I think for me, what is so exciting about it is the fact that not only does she really understand sort of ICANN and how processes work, she really does bring that perspective of protecting brand holders' rights. And, I can't think of anyone in recent memory who specifically was so focused on that and brought with them that particular perspective. So for me, I think it's a great thing for brands to have her participating on the ICANN board. And it also, I think, as you kind of alluded to, will bring a whole sort of perspective of how business is done and how corporate boards operate. And I think she'll bring all of that with her. So I think it's really great.
Yep, absolutely. No, congratulations to them both. And I look forward to their contributions to the board and to the community as well.
So one final topic, this was something that Matt noticed and he brought to my attention, and that is ICANN is in the process of hiring a WHOIS manager and bringing a WHOIS manager on staff. Maybe kind of share your thoughts, Matt.
Sure, yeah. So, as anyone that's been in this industry and followed it closely for years knows, WHOIS is a topic that has been discussed, debated, deliberated, acted upon for forever, essentially, at ICANN. And there's a ton of different activities going on within the community, within ICANN, with existing WHOIS protocols, with looking at new WHOIS protocols. And so I noticed this job posting out on the ICANN site for a WHOIS manager, essentially, the way I read it, for someone internally at ICANN to act as that point person for all of these activities, to interface both internally and externally, to move all of those various activities forward. And I think it's a really good sign that ICANN, understands and views WHOIS as such a critical part of their charge to hire a full-time WHOIS manager. I think is a good sign, and hopefully we'll be able to bring some structure, some process to all these different activities, because there really are a lot of WHOIS related things going on now and into the future. If you look at things like, thick WHOIS coming to VeriSign and .com, if you look at the next generation registry directory services, which is what the next generation of WHOIS is theoretically being called, there's just a lot of moving pieces. And so I think to have one point person, that the entire community can look at, and they haven't, obviously, it doesn't look like they've hired this person because the job listing is out there, but I'll say in advance, they definitely need someone that can act in a very decisive and strategic way, because you'll have the community just coming at you left, right, and center with all the different perspectives, prerogatives, all of that stuff. So I think it's a good sign. We'll see who they end up hiring and when that happens. But yeah, it was something interesting I noticed that I thought was worth a little bit of time.
Definitely. So I think that kind of brings us to the end of our podcast. Again, this was our second podcast. We're always looking for ideas. If there are topics that you would like us to cover, let us know. Otherwise, we will be talking to you again soon. As soon as we find something interesting to talk about, which shouldn't take too long. So we will see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.